Hey, Eric Music here. Welcome to the Subscription Box Show. And if you enjoy this podcast or it has even helped your business in any way, then I'd ask you to please consider supporting the show by visiting the subscriptionboxshow.locals.com. Any dollar amount would be a blessing to us. Thank you so much for considering.
Hey, Eric, how are you?
Hey, Cindy. It's been too long. How are you doing?
No, gosh, I was just thinking, last time we talked, it was before COVID.
Oh my goodness, it would have been, or right around that. Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, you're right. Because the show launched just like right in early April. So my goodness, how things have changed.
Yeah.
The world is not the same.
No, that was literally a lifetime ago.
I know. It's crazy. Especially if anyone who's had kids like ourselves that are in the last few years, it's like that's some of our kids, this is all they know, right? It's kind of, it's so sad. But yeah, anyways, it's recording as you would have clicked okay. So welcome here. Welcome back to the show. Super excited to have you here. So what's new with Cindy and the Wordy Traveler?
Oh, we've had, it's kind of that weird time because as we just mentioned with COVID, and you kind of are like, the world went absolutely upside down for such a long time. But yet, personally and professionally, it has actually been a really good couple of years. It allowed us to really expand and to really kind of hone in on what we're doing. We've learned so much, and we were just so excited. We've gone in a couple of different directions with the Wordy Traveler subscription box and some new partnerships. And so, yeah, it's been a really great time.
Cool. Well, I'm super excited to have you back. I mean, you're episode 8. So that was a long time ago. Episode 8. So we're 200 episodes past that now, because you're going to be well in the teens of the 200s. Today, every Tuesday we launch now, because when you came on the show, we were going 3 episodes a week. Now we went to 2, and now we're down to 1. It's just because as my own subscription box is growing, and it seems like we have more kids at the same time. We're at number 5 now. We're so busy that it's just we have to kind of like plan around a little differently. So anyways, I love this new format. I'm excited to talk to you about it. So the new format is basically long form conversations. We're just going to talk shop about subscriptions, what you're seeing in the industry, what's going on in your own life and your own business, and same with mine, and kind of just hopefully get some gold nuggets out of it for the listeners and the viewers, because we have a YouTube channel now. So this will be available on YouTube. We have a locals community, which is brand new. Do you know anything about locals?
I don't know locals.
Oh, okay. So do you know anything about Patreon?
Yes, I do know Patreon.
Okay,
yes.
So locals is kind of like Patreon. So it's kind of like the competition. I would say, I don't know if it's fair to say the competition, but it is what it is. So I just went with one of them. I went with locals. Okay. And so it's like a community-based thing. So I'd invite you to come check it out. That's actually, if you're going to be watching this on YouTube later on, your own episode, there's always a locals link at the bottom. But the subscription boxshow.locals.com. For anyone else who's listening or watching this on YouTube, head over to our locals community, brand new. Get it in from the ground, like the ground level up, because we just got, I think we're at how many supporters now? 25 or whatever members and stuff. So as we keep growing, we're just wanting to have and that doesn't seem like a lot, because we've had thousands and tens of thousands of listens on the podcast, and now we're trying to start something new. It's kind of like restarting, but it's really fun because we get to do some exclusive stuff for the members. So for example, after this, we're going to sort of cut it short at some point, and our post-show wrap-up and our post-show banter will just be for the exclusive supporters of the locals community. So little things like that we're trying to do. Fun things. We do a live happy hour on Fridays. Yeah, so little things. We're still trying to decide, do people want coffee? So we tried a Wednesday morning coffee last time, and then we did a Friday happy hour, and the vote was for the happy hour. So we're gonna go for them. We're gonna go for the happy hours for now. But what would your vote be? Are you coffee or a kind of a drink gal, or both?
I like them both. I guess it just depends on the mood I'm in. I mean, right now we're in the morning here on the East Coast, so I'm still in coffee mode. But come Friday nights, it's always nice to relax a little bit and let your hair down. So
yeah. I agree. Same thing. I love my coffee. I'm having one right now. Mornings, I love my mornings. It's just like a refresh every day. But then on Friday evenings, it seems like it's been a long week with the kids and everything else and the businesses, and now it's just like late afternoon or even mid-afternoon, I'm pretty much getting unplugged. And that's the nice thing about having your own business. It's like, I know 3:00 is unplugged time. We're going to have a beer and we're going to go live and chat for half an hour. So that's been a lot of fun since we started those. But yeah, the locals community, check it out, folks, if you haven't yet. Cindy, yourself too, I'd love to have you there.
Yeah.
And then yeah, we're gonna just kind of get right into it. So since we last spoke, like you said, like I can't believe it was pre-COVID, because I guess we would have recorded all the episodes probably January, February of that
Mhm.
2020. Is that what we're looking at here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's
Yeah.
changed? I was on your site. You still got the quarterly subscription, it looks like. Did anything change there?
Yeah, well, we've expanded. So when we first launched, we launched in 2017. So we were kind of like right there as subscription boxes were starting to make their headway into the marketplace. We just had one box. It was 3 books, and that was it. And since then, we've launched both fiction and nonfiction categories. And now you can range between 1 book and 6 books.
Oh wow.
We've also added on a kids book for Read With Me that correlates with the adult subscription, as well as we now have non-subscription offerings, limited editions that change up monthly or seasonally. So we've really kind of expanded into providing more options at more price points, subscription offerings and non-subscription offerings, because as you know, customer acquisition, it's easier to keep and retain a customer and to have them add on than to afford getting a new customer. So we work on that, as well as we're really right now, and you're kind of ahead of me on this. And this is why I love listening to your show, because it was actually your show where I heard about Stealth Venture Labs, and we partnered with them, and I mean, I'm not plugging them, but because of your show, we have had a huge uptick in our business because of some partnerships we learned about through your show. So I'm a huge supporter of what you do for subscription box owners, but expanding advertising, but also expanding the community aspect of of the Wordy Traveler community. And really, this year, we're really looking at creating a networking space for our subscribers. And we're really excited about that because we feel that there's so much competition in the marketplace, and we're starting to see, companies start to shake out, but that lasting power we really feel is within that community aspect.
Right on. So let's dig into that maybe. I think that's a very on par trend, what you're talking about, which is cool. But thanks, by the way, for listening to the show yourself. I mean, having the guests listen to the show is quite the compliment. But I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, Stealth Venture Labs, they were fantastic. We were really impressed with the interview as well. Like they were really well spoken. They do a lot of things. So I guess if you just Google Stealth Venture Labs, you'll see what Cindy's talking about. They were on the show. I don't remember the episode, but even if you just Google that on your Spotify or iTunes, that'll come up. Just put subscription boxes, Stealth Venture Lab, you'll see my show and with that episode come up. But yeah, they were really good. They've helped a lot of brands really expand their reach and acquisition. So congrats on that. Yeah, so community, I think you're right on par there. A lot of people are talking about community, right? Like how it's a huge thing. It's not just about the products and boxes, and you've done a lot with your subscription box, all these different things you're adding and as you're growing your business. But yeah, the community is a big one. So you want to keep kind of digging into there and what you guys have planned out.
Yeah. I mean, we'll kind of talk about the theory of community and the theory of a box, which is, any business in the world. And I know this is a trite saying, and I say this a lot, but if you want a valuable company, that company has to add value. And the more value you bring your subscribers or your customers or your community members, which is how we view the people who are part of the Wordy Travelers, they're our community members. The more value you bring to them, the value, and I know it's so trite, the more value you bring, the more valuable you are. But
Yeah.
it really is true
Yeah.
with business. Do you have a valuable product? Do your customers feel valued buying from you? Do they feel like they're a valued part of a community? And I think one thing that COVID has done is it's really brought us to understanding that customers, and myself included as a customer, you're looking not just to purchase, but you are looking to be a part of something bigger. And I think that's a huge trend right now in consumers is what is your dollars? What does it say about you? And are you connecting to that company? Are you connecting to that product? Are you connecting in that community? So what we're getting ready to launch, we haven't launched it yet. Well, first part we have launched, which is we've started our own podcast on all the major platforms. And it really is diving deeper into the authors and the places and the businesses that our box supports. So for those who maybe didn't see our first episode, one of the things that was a foundation of the Wordy Traveler was to highlight small businesses around the world and to have a box that gives back. Because as you know, when we first started subscription boxes back in the day, the trend was, and it still is in some boxes, but you spend $30, you get $200 free of items. And it was that savings model. And we talked about that in the episode. But what we really tried to do was to go past the savings and really talk about the value and bringing value as a product. So instead of going to a business and saying, hey, can you give us this many items free, because it's going to be advertising on your end, we actually do pay a fair market price for our products because we want our success to help small businesses' success. So a lot of times on our podcast, we highlight those companies and what those companies are doing, and we choose them for a reason, because we choose them for their community support, their hiring practices, what they do if they're an international business, how they affect the local community. And we have met some really great partnerships that way. And we're really excited about that. So that's the podcast. A lot of authors. We even get on and talk about our recent travels and our recent readings. And then now we're actually getting ready to launch. It's in development, a full members only site. Which is going to have two parts. It's going to have a magazine part where there's going to be a lot of content from author interviews, book reviews, travel tips, health, beauty tips, and then also a private in community chat and message board system. And then we'll be doing some exclusive content through that. So we're really excited about launching that, because I really feel that we're all looking for that connection, and bigger companies have shown that if you can create that connection, then you can create that staying power in your market sphere.
Yeah, I love that. That's just so many things to unpack here. So I'm just gonna kind of get with the first one that stood out was the podcast thing. So is this exclusive just for your members? Is this something where you subscribe to the Wordy Traveler and now you have access to this podcast, or is it just for anyone, just to get maybe the word out about the Wordy Traveler?
Right now, it's for anyone, and it is on all the major podcast platforms. So I guess I'll put a plug here. Shameless plug alert. The Wordy Traveler. We actually just launched the newest episode yesterday with author Evelyn Cole-Latour, who is a part of the Peace Corps. Really neat lady in the 60s. Just really fun to listen to.
Yeah.
And that is really just to get the word out, and just to sometimes, one of the things I've learned about, I've really gotten into a couple of business authors, Business Made Simple and Marketing Made Simple, but also, kind of the whole giving to get, and creating some free or some given content to people, and letting them see the value of you before you ask them to purchase from you. And, I think that's really important, because you're building that trust relationship. Because you can sell any box, because we're talking about subscription boxes. Anyone can go on your website and purchase one box at any time. But it really is, number one, the trust factor in that, and the community factor that will keep them coming back. And I think that's why so many subscription boxes fail, is because they look at it as a one-time transaction instead of a relationship. So, how do you work on any relationships? It's by bringing quality or value and being trustworthy.
Yeah, well, that's exciting that you do have the show. So congrats on that. I'm gonna have to check that out. I had no idea you had a show. We're actually thinking of it's pretty much a done deal. Like, we're going to be starting a podcast for the members only to start. But I'm thinking for our subscription box, Louis and Leia, for the moms, but similar, like we have kind of actually a similar value proposition where we support small businesses. So all the items like in the box are made by local makers, or they're anyway. So we're going to have every month that, that featured company on the show. So some of them have been leery of wanting to come on a podcast. People, it's not everyone that's comfortable doing that format, but I think it's going to be good for their brand once we kind of explain to them. And it just adds more value to the community. I think anytime you can add value, like you were touching on, right? Like these things with the, spend 30, get $200 or whatever, there's still a place for that, but you can't have it all. I mean, you have to have a strong value prop. And I think similar to you and what we're doing, I'm not saying this is the only route, because there's so many ways to doing it, but just make sure you're strong, because it's not going to be for everyone. There's still going to be people who want those $200 worth of things
Mhm.
for the $30, and others that want to support local makers or certain authors that you kind of like the give back model, right? So yeah, that's interesting. So the podcast, congratulations on that. Now you mentioned partnerships too, um, and reaching out to these different people. Do you have a trick that comes to that? Because you seem pretty successful at it. Is there something you do? You hear lead with value, or what's in it for them as well, not just like what's in it for you, kind of a thing. Is there a
Mhm.
secret there for you when you're reaching out?
Well, I will say now it's a lot easier that we have a more established name. At the beginning, it was very hard. Luckily, there were a couple local businesses in our area we could reach out to first that were already established. One of them is the Ohio Tea Co. They're still our partner today. And they were able to open up some doors once I explained to them what we're doing and how they're using their product. And, they were able to kind of give us credibility in talking to other companies. Um, at the beginning, it was, and even now, it is a lot of work. I mean, the majority of my day now, and luckily, I have a great friend, Sarah, who is kind of just running more of uh, the warehouse type thing, and that kind of it takes my mind away from that. And I have another person, Lucia, who's now doing all of our social media, and then of course Stealth with our advertising. So I've been able to clear things off of my plate, and so my day nowadays is really just looking for partnerships most of the day. It is brainstorming what we want to do and then sending out a bunch of emails or making a bunch of phone calls and saying, this is who we are. This is why we like your product. I think a lot of that leeriness is, and as you said, and I love how you said that, is one subscription model isn't good for every box. And, there are the big boys, the FabFitFuns that are in the savings model, and they are awesome at what they do. When I started the Wordy Traveler, that just wasn't the model that was going to appeal to my customer. And so I had to look at who my customer is, who my community is, and what are they looking for. And so for my community, it was that kind of bespoke, making a change, helping small businesses, that give back model. And so a lot of times companies are leery because they have been approached by so many people asking for free things or discounts. And if you're a business owner on this podcast, I'm sure you've been approached. We get emails every day. Hey, can you donate this? Can you donate this? And it's not that you're selfish or you don't want to, but you also have a bottom line as a business. And at some point in time, you just can't do that anymore.
Right.
And so when we explain what we're doing, why we're doing it, we're not asking for free products. We want to pay a fair price. This is what it means. This is our community. We've had very good responses, but it does take a good amount of work, especially at the beginning before your name is established.
Yeah, it's tough because they want to know how many members. And you can just say we don't say, in the beginning, if you don't have that many members, you can just say, and especially in the early conversations, you don't have to be exactly, give them numbers if you feel, uncomfortable with that, or you feel shy about your startup numbers. But if you are, or you can just own it as well. I mean, there's different ways to doing it. I think we just always owned it. We're like, listen, we only have, it's when we're starting, we only have 50 members, but this is where we're going. And, we'd love to have you back in the box eventually, but we're willing to pay fair market. Same with you. Like, we're not asking for free stuff. So I think it's important to lay that out there right off the bat. Like, because yeah, some of them might have been approached, or you might just be hitting the spam folder. So reach out to multiple ways. I think if there's a phone number, email, social media, like there's multiple ways to reach out to people. Sometimes they just don't view it. Like my wife, she likes to respond on social media to people. Like that's how me. There's no way I would never get it. People, I still have messages probably under my Instagram because I never go on Instagram, and I have an account there, but I never go to it. So sometimes I'll go in there and it's like a 2-month-old message, and people probably
Mhm.
just thought that I ignored them. It's like, no, I go by email. That's the way I like to communicate. So there's different ways. Make sure you're kind of, and if it's email, even then, sometimes you'll hit the promotional or the spam filter. So you got to kind of make sure to reach them in different ways. I think, does your email, do you think matters? Like who your provider is, like whether it's a Gmail versus if you have like Cindy at the Wordy Traveler. Do you have any what's your thoughts on those?
I do, and I think if you're on this podcast and you are starting up a box or you're starting up a new company, I'm assuming, maybe I'm assuming you own a subscription box listening to this podcast. But I know for me, I listen to podcasts at all sorts of types of businesses because I can
Yeah.
learn from any good business practice. So anytime you're starting up a company, And I know we bootstrapped the Wordy Traveler. I didn't take out any loans. I didn't sell anything. It was cash basis, starting out small. One of the things we invested in was that anything that aided a professional image. And so we spent the money to have an actual email, not a Gmail. We spent the money to have an actual web domain and not a blah, blah, blah at, you know, subscriptionbox.com, because I think all those things lend credibility, because at the beginning, it is really the image you project until your name goes out there.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying fake it till you make it, but I'm also saying treat yourself what you are, which is even if you only have 10 subscribers, you still have subscribers. You are still a subscription box. You are a legitimate business. And that's what my husband told me. I remember the day I made my first sale. He goes, "You are now a legitimate business
Love that.
because you have made a sale." So, just kind of when you're in the thick of things, and even now, I mean, we just hit our first $1 million in sales last month.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
And and I remember hitting it, and we kind of were all like, yay. And then I started to go, but we don't have this, and but we're not like this. And so even now I still do but we're not like them, or but we don't have this huge facility, or but this or but that. And sometimes you just have to say, you know what, I own a business. And if you look, sorry, I'm kind of going off here.
No, give her. This is good.
Like at the statistics, and this is one of the things that really helped me, is I actually went on and looked at small business statistics. And I think the average small business in America makes something between $30,000 and $50,000 a year.
Wow.
And that really blew my mind, because I was like, wow, we do that. Like, we are a business. So realizing that you probably are better than you think you are. Not that you're perfect, not that you're not growing, not that there's areas to expand and learn. I mean, you're constantly going to do that. But you probably are more legitimate than you think you are.
Yeah, take it easy on yourself. I think we're so hard on ourselves. And Julie and I got into this when we had our little 2-part mini series. And like on part 1 on her show, because we kind of collabed, part 1 on her show, we were talking about mindset stuff. And that's exactly it. People are so hard on themselves. Like you're just starting off, and I do it too. Like I might be on chapter 8 in my journey to get to chapter 30, and I'll look at someone who's at chapter 15 even, or of course we're using just kind of making an example here, but like I'll compare myself. You get to a new level, it's like, yes, we hit this, and then it's like, but these guys are over here. I want to be like these guys over here now. So and we're hard on ourselves. And it's like, but it's true. If you look at the statistics, my goodness, we're doing just fine. But it's never good enough. Right. And I think there's some mindset stuff there. You got to get on the technical side of things, which I want to get to as well when it comes to, like your member site only, which is cool. So remind me to get back to that. But on the mindset things too, as you got to change your mindset, as that has to grow with it as well, or else you could stagnate alone on that. And not, to get too woo-woo here, but that is an important thing. Before even launching the first opening up the site, I was working on this thing in my head, because I knew it wasn't there yet. And I still had kind of this old mentality that I had to also change to the new business mentality. So do you listen to a lot of like mindset stuff as well when it comes to business? You kind of touched on different business podcasts and maybe mindset stuff, probably books. I'm sure some business books and good books there. Yeah. Any recommendations?
Yeah, I'm really into Donald Miller right now, and he has free podcasts. He also has a bunch of books: Marketing Made Simple, Business Made Simple. He has a whole host of them, and you can go on and do his paid stuff. I have not done any of his paid stuff. I've just taken advantage of his free stuff, and it has made a huge difference for us, because it really is. Even though he talks about all businesses in general, I think a lot of what he says really pertains to having an online business, which if you're listening to this in your subscription box, you probably are an online business. And it really on how to make the customer your hero. That was huge for us. And when we literally changed that mindset based on his books, I mean, we literally saw sales double for us. So I constantly have a podcast on. Another thing, he just came out with a new book about managing your day. And it was funny when you're talking about being a morning person. And, one of the things is really harnessing that early morning for me, because I'm also a morning person. So that's where my mind works the best. Now, some of you might be night owls, and my husband's a night owl. He works best at night. I work best in the morning, but really learning how to harness and organize your day. And one of the things that he taught me too was, you can't get everything done in every day, just like a business. You can't do everything right now. As you said, if you're on chapter 8, you can't do chapter 16.
That's right.
But being okay with that, knowing that chapter 16 is coming, but knowing it's just not today. And that was really hard for me, because I would get so bogged down and I have all of this stuff to do. I want to do all of these things. Emails are coming in, this is happening, and I still have a family and I still have a life outside of my business. How am I going to get it all done? And really just focusing on, these are the most important things I have to do today. And when I get those done, I am going to be satisfied with today. And it's not that you aren't trying to do more. It's not that you aren't growing, but it is also learning how to have that balance of striving and satisfaction at the same time.
I love that, striving and satisfied. Yeah. I mean, I'm similar. Like, I'm sort of both. It's weird because you say I am a morning person because this is when I work best. But I have to be very organized and disciplined, because otherwise I'm all over the place. And people who listen to the show know this, like, I'm very routine based, especially during the week, because I'm actually a night owl as well. I could easily be up till 1 a.m. like no problem every single morning or every single night. I love staying up and just kind of like chilling, because now the kids are in bed. I got a little bit of just me and my wife. Maybe we'll have a glass of wine and watch a show together, and then she'll go off because she falls asleep earlier than I, and then I'll maybe watch TV or read a book, whatever. So and I can stay up late, especially if someone's over. My goodness. So I got to be really disciplined with that. I got to put myself like a bedtime essentially. So I get my 7 hours of sleep, and I know I need a minimum of that. And all these different things, knowing yourself really will help yourself and your day get organized, not to have this waking up and flustered. There's just so many things to do, especially if you're listening and you're starting off. Well, it doesn't really matter actually. Starting off, thinking of starting, or right in the middle of it, like we are, you need to have sort of a plan, and you can't do it all because there's just so many things to tackle. Even with your daily, now that you have all this help, right? You have people that are doing different things in your warehouse. You have people that are doing the marketing for you. Yet you still have to be structured and organized, or else you'll be all over the place. And I think listening to good shows, you mentioned Don Miller. It's funny, I've never listened to Donald Miller, and so many people have told me about him. I think so. I wrote it down. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna finally go check that out today. So just I think your mind has to grow as your business grows as well. You just got to make sure you're replenishing that as well, because otherwise you'll be, burnout could be a big factor. A lot of different things, negativity when something doesn't go right, how to handle adversity, all these different things. I mean, there's gonna be some highs and lows in entrepreneurship, and I think having that the mental side of things, and then physically the organization side of things is really going to help you out.
Yeah, you have to have the mental component, because owning a business it's an entirely different animal.
Yeah.
Because you every day experience highs and lows. Like, you can be like, man, we just hit a great, the best number of sales we had in one day. And then the next you get an email from a customer just, complaining about everything and everyone, or, you just had, this great new partnership come in, but then maybe that day sales have slumped. And so you're constantly battling that it's owning a business is manic. It really is. And it's learning how to navigate both and how to temper both of those emotions.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just going to take a second here to do my ad spot here. So this episode is sponsored by Referral Candy, and maybe we can get into this, Cindy, if we need to or not. But this episode is sponsored by Referral Candy. Referral Candy is probably, if not the number one. I don't want to spit out numbers that I don't know, but they're one of the top referral apps you can use if you have a subscription service or e-commerce business. But specifically for us into the subscription industry, we're going to talk about Referral Candy as one of the best in the biz when it comes to referrals. To make it easy, I know in our boxes we give these cards that talks about a referral program, and we put them in every single box. So people, when they want to refer, which they do to their friends and family, then it's easy to do. And then you can set up, and they do all the work for you. It takes like literally, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. I think they say it takes you a few minutes, 5 minutes. I'm not that technical. I know I got a podcast. I don't do anything technical. Junard, my editor, does all that. So I'm really not a tech guy. So anyone can do this. You just go to referralcandy.com, or if you're got a Shopify store, under the apps, search Referral Candy, and then you'll be able to see some cool stuff they do. for sure half an hour. If you're really not technical, you'll have that program up and running. And, you can do something. What we do is, someone subscribes, we put these cards in there. If they ask a friend to do it, so the person who refers it gets 50% off their next box. And then the person who's getting it for the first time gets 50% off their first box plus whatever promo we're running. So it's a win-win for both people. If you're doing your good job and you're trying to grow that community where we're talking about, Cindy, this is a great way to do it. You pay for that customer, that acquisition cost is high, so try to get as much as you can out of that. And it's not that expensive to run a program like Referral Candy. I think it was as low as, when we started, maybe $50. Like, it's not much a month, and that might be inaccurate, but yeah, just go check it out. And also, if you're not on Locals yet, make an account there. So just go to thesubscriptionboxshow.locals.com. I'd love for you guys to just go check it out. There's free stuff there, and then there's the paid stuff there. So whatever you're comfortable with, Cindy, you're talking about Donald Miller. You use some of his free stuff. You're not using his paid stuff yet, but he puts it out there. And the same with me. So we have some free stuff there and some paid stuff. So if you feel like the show has been a blessing to you, I'd love for you to become a supporter, and you can do that as low as $5 a month. But it's up to you. You can also just go there and hang out for free. I just wanted the community to grow because, like I said, it's brand new. It's only a couple weeks old as we're recording this anyway. And yeah, I'd love to have you there to check it out. So we do lots of cool stuff, lives. I think is my favorite part. But I just post there more than anywhere else now because I'm trying to get away from the giants, the tech giants of the world. Just not that I'm not going to have a Facebook group anymore, but that I'm just, not going to be as dependent on them. So I think email lists, we can get into email lists. That's a part for your subscription box where you can own it. Something like your own community outside of the big tech, like Locals maybe, is something you can do as well. So having a podcast, there's so many ways now to do it, right? It's not just dependent on one thing. Were you, so we'll just kind of roll back into it. Were you hit hard when the iOS stuff came out, the updates 14, or is that more like Venture was dealing with that at the time, or maybe not? Like, how did you deal with that? Because we were rocking, like our Facebook ads were just crushing it, man. Like, hundreds were coming in every month, and all of a sudden it just like smash, like it just crashed. And I was like, whoa, to the point where we pulled out everything completely because it was just getting absurd with the number, like until we figure this out. But now we're going back into it, and everyone, and I'll see what you say, because then we're doing something else now that's really working. What I'm seeing as a trend with paid ads, that everyone that's doing it, it's sort of working. But I'll let you kind of catch up to what I just said.
We definitely did see some pushback when that happened. And I think, that happened, if you were Coca-Cola or one of the big giants, you were still having issues with it. Luckily, and this is something I've learned, is the importance of investing in people who know more than you do. And that's really hard when you're on a shoestring budget. And I remember when and this is not an advertisement for Stealth. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just using it as an example for me. You put in whatever you're investing in, that whether it's employees or maybe you've gone to a fulfillment house, or maybe it's just, doing a company like Referral Candy, because that is an investment at the beginning. You're paying
100%. Yeah.
Or an email service, like a MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever you use for your email platform. Those are all investments at the beginning. And there is that kind of like, wow, I'm taking this much money that we may or may not have and putting it over here. And I'm not really sure if I could do it myself, but maybe I do need a professional. And I remember when we got that first, we were in negotiations with Stealth, like when I'm just using this as an example in my business, not saying you need to go with them. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is thousands of dollars a month. And we are like right here, like every money we have coming in, we have going out. And now we're putting this extra thousands of dollars on top of this and being very, very concerned. But it did teach me that sometimes you do have to, not to use a trite saying, but lean in. And sometimes you do just have to take a leap of faith and say, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing here, or there's someone who knows it better than I do because this is their profession. This is what they do. And I need their expertise, because their expertise will go farther than me just, for a lack of better words, just trying it out and just trying to figure it out. And sometimes you do need to pay for that expertise in your business. So they kind of helped us navigate that a little bit better than I think we would have if we were just doing ads on ourselves. I was just on listening to another subscription box podcast, and a person come out and they said, we don't do Facebook ads anymore. We don't do social media ads. And I
Well,
thought, well, why are they saying this? And it was because they were doing it on their own and they didn't have the knowledge on how to navigate the new ways of doing the ads.
yeah, it's one of those things. And to credit to some subscription boxes, I know I've heard it, or we've never put a penny into paid ads, which but if that's the case, you got to be careful when you're listening to these things. Okay, so listen up, or like they might come, you don't know the whole story, or maybe you do, but often these people might come from another business where they're bringing a massive audience, or they have a huge email list already, and they can nurture that into their subscription box, right? So that could be the case. I'm not saying that is the case, but it's going to be pretty tough for you to do it without paid ads. There's an old saying here that I use all the time: pay now or pay later, everybody pays. So whether you pay with your sweat equity, you're just going to try to do it yourself and stumble and hit your toes and put in whatever you can in Facebook ads, or you can hire it out, or you can jump into a course like some that we're proudly affiliated with. But at some point, you're going to have to maybe spend to pay for that expertise, and that might come in the form of a Stealth Venture Labs, or one of these companies we've used, like Harbor Marketing Agency, or a course like Liam Brennan's subscription box experts academy course, or like all these, or the Julie Ball's boot camp, like Gary Redmond's email marketing secret. Like at some point, you might want to a little bit, and people are scared of the sticker price sometimes. It's like $1,000 for this course. They're all around $1,000, people, just to throw it out there. So but people sometimes get worried about that. It's like, well, or you can try doing it yourself and be successful, but sometimes you might spend a lot more than that $1,000 in mistakes. So in the end, it's actually less expensive, if that makes sense, sometimes, to actually jump in and just take it, and take the course. But if you're going to do that, take it seriously. Or if you're going to invest with a company, use one that's proven in our industry. Like I've been burnt twice now by trying to save money and going with a cheaper option. We've been burnt, plain and simple. We got burnt completely. And I'm not going to name their names. They're not really subscription box marketing agencies, but they were a lot less. And we just ended up spending a lot more, because you go for the 3-month or the 6-month contract. We got like completely hosed for twice, and wasted, I'm telling you, tens of thousands of dollars on stuff because we're trying to go the more inexpensive route. So I guess you get what you pay for.
You do. And that's where wisdom comes in. I mean, we've all done that. Partnerships, things look good. And then that's the big thing about being a business owner. You're constantly getting emails all the time. Do this, partner with us. Here's an opportunity. And, sometimes you try them and they work out great. And sometimes you try them and they fail miserably. But, and you can fail in business and still succeed. You can't, John Maxwell, who's a business book author, has this failing forward. There is going to be failure in your business and you are going to learn. But you also then have to realize that is a part of business. But number 2 is just kind of being very judicious on who you use and what you use, because your business is your identity. That business is the identity. And so you want to make sure that as much as you can, not that you're going to be perfect, not that you're not going to fail, not that you're not going to make mistakes, that you are presenting your business the way it should be presented, which is professional, as a professional company, a professional product, a professional environment, because that's what you are. You are a professional.
And watch where you take your advice from too. Like, sometimes everyone knows a friend in this thing, right? It's like, I know, don't worry about it. I know Eric talks about this, Harbor Marketing, or Cindy talks about Stealth Venture, which they've both been on the show, by the way. And I'm not saying, again, to go with those, because it could be too much for you at where you're at right now, so that might not be the right option either. But just be careful who you take advice from. Sometimes people have good intentions. No one's trying to steer you wrong, I don't think. Hopefully, if you have some good friends and family, but sometimes they just don't know the right things in the industry. So reach out to our past guests. If it's not me, if you don't feel comfortable talking to me, talk to, if you're more comfortable with Cindy or any past guest, reach out to people. People are willing to help in this industry, and we're just going to share what we've done, share our resources. And trust me, my reputation's on the line, especially with this show, right? Like I only usually have people on the show that I trust and like, and that I like what they're doing. And similar to the advertisers on the show, it's not just about money. You know how many times I've said no to people if it's not a right fit. So yeah, I mean, just watch where you think where you take your advice from. Sometimes people have the right intentions, but they just don't have that expertise to help you. So people get steered in the wrong direction and fail. Sometimes not forward. They fail and then lose their business or lose their whole, their dream falls apart. Right?
That is true. And I love how you said that, learn how to say no, because sometimes no is even more powerful than yes.
Yeah.
And learning that. And, I think that's hard when you're in the thick of things, especially, I mean, you guys are business owners. I mean, you are motivated, you are driven, you don't start a business if you're a passive individual. You start it because you want something better. You have this idea and you want to fight to bring it to market. And sometimes you get so like forward, 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 forward that you don't take the time to really say, where are we going? And is this going to get me there? And learning how to, step back, evaluate, and learn that sometimes no is going to be more beneficial to you than saying yes.
Yeah, I agree. Including something like the course I just mentioned from the advertisers. Sorry, referral candy, but sometimes it'll be that's just one other thing I got to do. That's too much right now. I got too much on my plate, and sometimes you got to say no to that course, which I just goes against everything I just said. But sometimes the course, you know how many people too, like we'll try and say, hey, I'm thinking of doing these. What are these two courses? It's like let's hop on a quick 15-minute consult, like a free, and I do those for free, by the way. It's like we go through their site, we go through their business, like yeah, you're not there yet. Like, do these few things first, and then maybe the course will be a fit. But sometimes these things, you get fake busy. And I know I use that all the time, but they want to do all the courses. They want to listen to all the podcasts. They want to read all the books. They want to do referral candy, this thing, the other thing, this thing. Meanwhile, they haven't really done anything to grow their business outside. Like, so you got to be careful too. Like saying no is very powerful, and just making sure you know where your business is at and what it needs at the right time.
Yeah. One of the things that we always I learned, and some of you may be coming onto the show and you have a business background or you have a corporate background. I had a very small business background. Luckily, I came from a family who owned a business, but so I did have some basis of things coming. Now, granted, it is a completely different business. My dad's business was a brick and mortar company. So when I talk to him now, he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. We never had to deal with that.
Yeah.
I
What
don't
did he
even
have
know.
for business?
He actually owned a very large commercial body shop. They had like 2 shifts of 26 people, and
Whoa.
yeah, I mean, it was a large, they did a lot of work for like race car companies and stuff like that on their vehicles. So it was a huge, it wasn't a, that gas station type body shop. It was a big industrial shop. And so he ran that for most of my life until he sold it. And then he went to work in the corporate realm as an executive in the industry. But I kind of grew up seeing the hard work side of that business. My dad gave me a lot of mental thought process growing up. But even though as much as he helps me, he will also be the first to say, what I did and what you're doing is two different things. And though the business thought process of quality product, customer service, professionalism, your word is your bond, your hard work, all of that is true business wide. How you run your day-to-day operations and what causes your business to grow operationally may be completely different from another business. Same thing within subscription boxes. What may cause your box to grow may not necessarily work for my box. And I love how you said that, evaluate who you're listening to, even within the industry, because even though it's a good idea, it may not be a good idea for you.
Yeah. 100%. I think we're not gonna beat this one too much, but like even
Sorry, guys.
no, it's true. Like I've even seen in subscription box groups where people are giving advice, which is fine. People are trying to help each other, but just be careful who that advice is coming from, right? Like do they have things that have worked for them in the past? Or are they just starting out themselves? So just be careful. I think people, again, have the right intentions, no doubt, but you want to make sure you're taking advice from someone who's maybe been there, done that, and has a bit more experience in sometimes. So, okay. So we talked about different things. I want to talk about, you mentioned something earlier on the members only site. Now that's another thing where people are like, oh, great, just something else now I got to do. Right. But again, don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. So you're in a business position where you put on a new members only site. I want you to kind of maybe talk about that some more. What does that look like?
Well, we're building it. So it hasn't
Okay.
launched yet.
Okay.
This is this year's. In fact, actually, slowing down to speed up, we literally, I sat down with my husband, who, even though he's not full time like I am in this business, he's actually a vice president of a healthcare system. So he's very smart in the business community. And we literally sat down at the beginning of the year, and he helped. I went over what I thought were the top 3 things I needed to do this year for my business. What were my top 3 priorities in growing the company? And the first one was our member experience, our community experience. And with that is now launching this community website, which we're hoping to launch here in the next 2 months. It's being developed right now. Once again, we don't want to launch it until we have a good amount of content on it. And that's one of the things, I am one of those people that will just dive in, like, let's go, let's get it done. I literally developed the Wordy Traveler website one night and launched it the next day. I'm not saying you should do that. Like, it was literally the origin story of the Wordy Traveler was, it was a cold December night, and I just decided, let's do something crazy. Yeah. When I couldn't find a subscription box I wanted to subscribe to. Having said that, I've also learned the value of taking a step back and making sure that when you do something, it is ready to go. And it is, there is a foundation to it, and just not,
or at least a plan, right? Like at least a plan. So I think, yeah. So anyways, I didn't want to cut you off. So we're going to go into Cindy's top 3 here then. Let's, number 1, member experience. Yeah.
Member experience is number 1. Number 2 is the podcast, and really creating, and this is something that goes along, and I don't want to beat this horse, but with social media advertising, and I was trying to find while you were talking, the title of this book, and it is slipping my mind because I read so many books in a day because I have to read them for the Wordy Traveler, and then I read them for me, and then I read fun books. But there is a great podcast with Van Jones, and he talks about this book when he is interviewing Wyclef Jean from the Black Eyed Peas.
I was going to say, yeah.
What?
No, I was just going to say from the Black Eyed Peas, yeah.
From Black Eyed Peas, yeah. And he is Wyclef Jean, and I didn't realize till this podcast, he is really good at futurism and kind of looking at trends. And this book is all about how technology right now is progressing quicker than it ever has. And it's because we have all this confluence of all of these different technologies coming together, not only from social media, but even with microchips and technology processes, and how what took literally generations to happen is now happening in months or years. And it's the same thing being in the business. I mean, 6 years ago, subscription boxes were a very rare thing. Now it's how most of us shop, whether you call it a subscription box or a subscription or an automatic delivery.
Membership
plan. And so really kind of realizing that maybe what you're doing now is not going to be what you're doing a year from now, and being open enough and flexible enough to look at all of the avenues and say, where are things going? And, social media may not be a big, huge deal 5 years from now. It may be, but also looking at all the other options and not being stuck in this mindset of, this is what we've done, this is what other people do. And I loved how you talked about looking at other models for your podcast and kind of getting away from certain things because you feel that that's where you need to go. Mm-hmm. And that's really, really important. So for us, sorry, I'm getting off topic, our member experience, but that is a non-traditional model.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
The podcast, also a non-traditional model. Yep. And then third is basically some internal growth we have to do, some hiring we have to do within that.
Love that. Cindy's top 3. Sorry, you were going to say something.
Okay, no, go ahead. Please continue.
No, I was going to say member experience. So yeah, you can develop your own site. So you're doing an actual website, but you can also, if you're listening to this and you're wondering, okay, well, I'm just starting off. How can I do something that's inexpensive and that can still add value to a community and maybe do it exclusive? Well,
Mhm.
locals again, it's another great way. They have the platform there, and there is the free, and it's kind of neat the way they do it. So you have your free your when you start up, it's for free. It's called, I think, the basic tier or whatever. But then it can
Mhm.
go into these different tiers, right? So, and you can't pay for the upgrade. You got to grow your community to the point where,
Oh, wow.
which is weird because I want to grow. I'm like, just give me I want to pay for this upgrade because I want to do more lives. I want to post more content, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no, you need a minimum of 50 supporters to get to tier two. I'm like, well, how am I going to get to tier two if I don't, post more stuff, whatever. So you got to get creative with it. But anyways, that's one you can do, is just go to locals, create your own community. They kind of make it cool where you can kind of like, it's kind of like, I don't know if it's, I don't know what to compare it to actually. I was going to say MySpace, but it's not a MySpace. But it's similar where you have like your own little space there where you can
Mhm.
create with your own, and you can brand it, and you can, post lives. And there's just really cool things there, make it very exclusive to your community. So you can call, whatever your subscription box is, community on locals, and have people head out there. And then you can actually click when you post something that it's exclusive content for just, the members there or whatever. Anyways, um,
Great.
so that's something you could do, I think. But I love your top three. It's very on par with a lot of the stuff we're seeing. It's all community driven with the podcast exclusivity, and it's adding value to
Mhm.
your members. I mean, that's what it's about. It's not just about products anymore. People look beyond the products. They want the experience. They want, the unboxing, of course, all these different things. But beyond that, what else is part of it? And I look at my own shopping habits or my own even listening habits. And that's why we kind of changed the format of the show and the way we're doing different things. It's like I feel part of the community with these certain podcasts that I really love. And I just feel part of that community. Like it's ingrained. And when you can do stuff outside of listening to it with that community, it just feels special and you feel like you're part of that group. So I think um, COVID has been a blessing in a sense of that way, because it's really kind of like strengthened these groups and these communities.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you have anything to touch on that, but your site, when is this supposed to be live for?
We're planning for the next 2 months. So we're planning for a May launch.
Okay.
Based on, I mean, there's a lot of coding. I mean, this is an undertaking because when I launched the Wordy Traveler, I did not code a website. I used the Create Joy platform. I used their website builder. So this is a whole new undertaking. In fact, our first kind of private site was actually a Facebook members group. And that's
Cool.
what we had all the way up till now. And that's actually been very hard for me because I am not a social media person. I'm actually not a tech person. I am a pen and paper. Uh, I hate my cell phone. I really hate. Yep, yep.
Yeah, I
I
should actually,
hate
well, for people
tech.
can see that. Here's what I
Yeah,
was showing here. So yeah,
pen and
lots of
paper.
papers, pens, and then whiteboards. I gotta physically write it down. I'm anti-tech. I'm getting worse as I get older. I want to get away from it, Cindy. I want to.
I'm the same way. In fact, last weekend we got away for just a couple days just to kind of like refresh.
Yeah.
And we literally rented a cabin in the middle of nowhere. There was no TV. We had no cell phone reception. We had no Wi-Fi. And it was like the greatest time. And then I come back into society and then I'm like, it's like this huge, you know, um, for lack of better words, and I hate to use this word right now, considering what's going on in this world, but this huge explosion of just information that came flying at us.
Noise. Yeah.
Noise.
Like
Yeah.
it's too much. Yeah. Yeah. I'm slipping into like more, less and less social media, more like just community stuff, just like and I love, and that's the difference. Like I hate going to these social media platforms to post. It's like it takes work. It's like it's work, even though it's not a lot, but it takes work for me. It's like it's work that I just, yeah. I don't know if hate is too strong, but I just don't like doing it. It's so, but when it comes to like our community stuff, like I love doing it. Like it's fun. So I don't know. It's one of those things that's weird. I'm gonna go back to this speaker view. So yeah.
One of the things I heard actually on the Van Jones podcast was this lady, she talks about using social media intentionally and understanding why you're using it, like understanding why you do what you do. Just don't, go on like, oh, I'm waiting here at a stoplight. I'm just gonna check this. But being intentional. And I think that is a trend because I think so many people have been burnt out of social media And so they are kind of very leery of what they're seeing. And I also think that's, kind of then plays against if you are a huge social media advertiser and, kind of like, okay, how can we create an intentional experience and an intentional content? Because I think that's where society is going. We went from all of this content and now we're kind of bringing our world back in a little bit.
Do you guys do non-traditional paid ads stuff like TikTok, which I don't know if that's still considered non-traditional? It's getting pretty huge, but
we haven't done TikTok. And I know it's probably something I need to look into. Okay,
it's
I'm
funny.
the old cranky lady here. I don't know. I am not on TikTok. Shocking.
Yeah.
Barely on Facebook. If it wasn't for cute animals and my friends' kids, I probably wouldn't be on Facebook anyway. So we, like I said, that's the reason why I hired it out, because I, number one, don't know what I'm doing, would not be good at it because I'm not a marketing expert. And number three, I don't want to learn how to do it. I have this amount of time during the day. I can't take that whole block of time to learn something. I need somebody who already knows it so I can take that block of time and focus on what I need to do to grow this business and keep it running.
Yeah. No, fair enough. And maybe you can share with us. You don't need to give me a number. I don't want to know what you guys spend or what your marketing budget is. That's not what I'm getting at. But do you know if Venture have, I forget if we would have touched on this when they were on the show, but do you know if Venture, if they have minimum spends? If people are listening, you're like, well, yeah, sure, I'm going to go and they're going to ask me for, $50,000. I know that's not the case, but like, what's kind of, do you know if they have a minimum there?
There are different contracts based on the companies. And so I don't want to speak to what they're doing now.
Fair enough.
We have our contract is a percentage based contract. We have spent enough that I don't want to speak to that. So every company is different with what they want, what is beneficial to them, and how they work with their partners. So I would just say you have to call and find out.
Yeah. Reach out to them.
Yeah, I don't want to speak on their behalf and then they get a bunch of calls and they're like, Cindy,
what if you tell them? Yeah. But do you want to maybe just touch generally on that? What do you mean by the percentages? Because I know some people like they go to a traditional advertiser and it might just be like, you got to give us, X amount of dollars per month just for us to manage you. This is our managing fee. And then it's, minimum, whatever it is, X amount of dollars for in Facebook ads or whatever. And just the month. So then you're looking at those two combined numbers and that's what you're going to be putting in, but you're talking about a percentage.
Yeah. And every company is different and every contract
sure.
in companies are different. So some companies do just how you said, where you have, this is our retainer fee. This is how much you pay us every month, because we have obviously, I know for us, we have 5 or 6 people on our team, those who design the ads, those who manage the ads, those who manage those teams to make sure everything's getting done. So, I mean, your spend there is going to salary, to getting that company to their bottom line. So, and then usually then it's, could be a minimum ad spend. We need you to spend 5,000 or 6,000. And then what they do is they go buy ads. And for those of you who don't know how social media advertising works, is they actually bid. So when you do a search engine, all these companies have put a bid in, and the highest bidder will then rank on that profile feed. It's really wild, isn't it?
It's crazy. Yeah. It's what a world we live in. Yeah.
Yeah, based on, the ad sets they put in, which is like, if somebody goes on the Facebook that's 25 to 35 and lives in this area and goes to pages that are like this, when we see that person pop on, then, depending on your bid, your ad will get placed. Another way some ad companies do it is it's a percentage of your spend. So let's say we spend $1,000 a day, $30,000 a month, let's say, in that scenario. Then they'll say, okay, on top of that ad spend, that 30,000, you owe us an additional 25% of that, or 50% of that, or a percentage of that. And then that's what goes to pay for their company services.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the company, the account, and how they choose to do it.
They all do free consults too. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you got nothing to lose. Depending, it doesn't matter where you're at in your business. Like honestly, it doesn't. Cindy's using big numbers, but that might be a tiny number for you, and that might be a huge number for you. But they'll do a free consult and they'll tell you a percentage or a price depending on your business and stuff. So don't be too overwhelmed with that. I mean, they're there to help. So I mean, if it's a fit,
That's not what we pay. We pay less than that.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't spend that much on ads.
But yeah, the point is that, yeah, I mean, but some people do, and that's fine. Like we're not there either yet. That's a number we want to get to, but if you're paying that much, that means it's working as well. So it's money that's coming back. So and hopefully if you're with the right company, it's not an expense. It's an investment in your business. That's how we have to look at it. It's not $30,000 or $1,000 or $300 going out the window. It's money that's going out to attract your customers. I want to touch on offers as we're kind of like wrapping up here. Like, is there something you guys are doing when it comes to offers that have been really like, how do you guys, what's your, you don't have to tell me what your customer acquisition cost is. I just want to like, what's working for you guys to attract customers right now?
We do specials from time to time. We do referral rewards. One of the things that for us, and this may not be from you, but one of the things I've tried to shy away from, and not shy away from, I've ran away from it, is that constant, always run a special, always run a deal, always run a coupon, because I know for me, this is how I look at my business. I look at it through what I prefer as a consumer. So I always hate it when I get like every day in my inbox a new special from the same company. Like it kind of annoys me. Like I'm like, okay, I know yesterday it was 50% off. Now today it's 20, buy 2 get 5 free or whatever. And so and I could be wrong, and I'm sure I'm wrong. I'm sure you'll have a guest on next week and they'll say something completely different. But whenever I've made decisions like that, I've always just said what bothers me, and I'm not going to do it in my company. And that has just, as a consumer, bothered me, that constant like coupon. There's a home store here, and I don't know if it's in Canada as well, but it's a big home store. And it's like every day I get a 20% coupon off, and then I get it in the mail, and then I get it texted to my phone. And I'm like, please stop sending me these coupons, because I would by now could buy everything in your store for 20% off. So, we try to, and it's not that we don't do it, but we try to make it special.
Yep.
And we try to use it as a tool of, obviously come Christmas time, you're going to have to run specials, because that's just what you do at Christmas. You have the Black Friday, the Cyber Monday. Customers are expecting that. There are certain holidays throughout the year that customers are expecting a sale. But I do try to keep those special, because if you're constantly doing it all the time, then it's no longer special. And then it's a tool that you no longer have in your toolbox for when you do need it. Because there are times where, this year was, not this year was an example, but sometimes after Christmas, you get that post-Christmas slump of sales. And that's any retail industry. There's usually that kind of January, February slump. If you are constantly running deals all the time, and let's say in January and February, you're a bootstrapped company and you need to get some cash flow coming in, all of a sudden you've removed that tool on how to create income. And so I'm not saying this is good for everyone. This is just how I view it. I don't want to take that tool out of my toolbox in case I need to use it someday. So I'm very judicious on how I run my specials. It's not because I'm cheap or, Mr. Moneybags, like I want all your money. It's not because of that. It's just, learning how to keep my value of my product special. And if you're constantly discounting yourself, I think you're undervaluing your product, because then people are like, well, is it even worth that if they're constantly running a special? Or when they renew at full price, well, I don't want to pay that because, everybody's getting this deal. Just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I'm probably wrong.
No, but that's the thing. It's not wrong, because it's just like the retail world, right? There's brands like, look at Under Armour. There's never sale on Under Armour stuff. Nike, there's sales on Nike stuff or whatever. Like, so it depends on, like, these different brands do it differently. And for whatever reason, it works for them. And it might work for you to always have a promo or an offer. It might, some people do it around holidays. So every month there's a holiday, whether it's Valentine's in February, St. Patrick's Day in March. Like there's, Mother's Day, Father's Day, like there's, Canada Day, Independence Day. There's always gonna be something. If you're a niche, market like book club, there's probably an international book day or multiple ones probably. So you can always plan around those, or you can have, I guess what I was just out, like if there wasn't a specific offer that you guys were doing that was working for us, it's having a gift that everyone, we think it's going to push the envelope. I know that's working well with people. I think Facebook ads are coming back. A lot of people are having success with Facebook ads. Are you guys having success with Facebook ads?
We took a dip. We took a dip during the American election just because ad spend was so high during that time, the bidding thing, that we couldn't spend that much on ads. Like we were getting they call it ROAS. So it's return on ad spend.
Yeah.
Getting technical for those of you who aren't advertising yet. I had to learn all these terms. I'm like, what?
Go to your Facebook ads manager. You're going to see a column with ROAS. Now you know what it is.
And I hate Facebook's ad manager. I'm sorry, Facebook, if you're listening to this, you need to simplify that because it is so confusing to me.
Oh, I've got a conspiracy theory on that one. They want to make it hard because then you're spending a lot of money. Like I think it takes you so long to master, but I don't know. I don't know what we're not going to go down the rabbit hole on that one, but it could be easier. There's no reason for it to be that complicated and difficult, but anyway.
It's very complicated.
For another episode.
Conspiracy theories with the subscription box show.
Subscription box conspiracy theories.
Yeah, hey, it could be a huge audience, but I forget what we were saying. But
Facebook ads, yeah.
Facebook ads, we have seen an uptick. They were down, obviously, kind of Christmas time once again. That it's a little bit harder because you're competing then for those bids. But actually, I just got the report today. I mean, we are 3.3 ROAS, which in the new Facebook model, it was like a 9 or a 12 in the old Facebook ads. So we're real pleased with our results. And I love how you said, thinking outside the box, that not every deal you do has to be a discount. It can be, an extra gift or, a higher value item or the one thing we always do, and you mentioned this, is we always do run referral.
Yeah.
Because customer acquisition, if you can, number one, take an existing customer you have and upgrade them, or number two, if you can take an existing customer you paid for and then have them lead into other customers, that affects your ROAS and your bottom line. And that's always the best way. Referral, no matter what business you're in, referral customers are always your most loyal.
Yeah, they are. And they usually have the highest order value as well. So and other people my margins are so slim, I can't do this. I can't afford to spend money on advertising. Well, get creative. We're talking about taking care of your customer. What can you do with that customer you already have? And maybe increase that average order value. Maybe give them a special discount and send them a reminder, before the packing day or packing week. That's what we do during packing week. Like, hey, your box is going on the 10th. If there's anything else you guys want to add to the box, we have these on special. And of course, what's going to happen? You get a percentage of people that are going to increase their average order value and can use that to offset your next month's advertising as well. So you just got to get creative, guys. We're in business to make money as well. And I think going back to what we were talking about, offers and discounts, it depends. Maybe you're having a credible offer, but maybe your churn's higher. Maybe you don't offer it and now your churn's lowered it depends where you're at and you get into your business, where what's more important, acquiring a bunch of customers right now, and then maybe you can settle down on the offers and just kind of maintain and manage them. And then, because you want the quality of a customer will depend on sometimes, if it's always a free box, we experienced that, right? It was great getting a lot of people in, but churn was, if you didn't have to pay for that first box, you're just something as simple as a free box versus a gift, where they still have to pay for that first box, right? You're getting a higher quality customer that's not going to bounce hopefully after 1 month or whatever. So, these are all things. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on? Because otherwise we're going to move over to the post-show wrap-up. We got some questions from some of the locals community that have just for them from the Q&A post-show wrap-up. So is there anything else you want to touch on?
I can't think of anything. I always love talking to you, though. This was so fun. I'm so looking forward to this all week long.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Great show. And I really do. I'm a listener. So I'm going to have to go on and become a member of Locals because, you help us. So thank you for what you do.
Well, it's my pleasure. It's one of those things you touched on, of course, was sometimes just giving back to the giving back, I guess, to the whatever you want, to the world, the subscription industry. This is how I've been able to do it 200 episodes later. So I still love doing it. And I love bringing you guys as much value. And it's because of guests like you, though. So thank you for doing this, Cindy. We're going to wrap this up. Thanks. If you're listening on or watching on YouTube, head over to Locals. If you're listening, head over to Locals, the subscriptionboxshow.locals.com, and you'll be able to see the post-show wrap-up and Q&A exclusive with Cindy Nichols. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, thank you.